8:45. This is the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation. Here is the news, edited by Danushka Madhavella and read by Indrani Senanayaka. The headlines. The Elections Commission says that it is prohibited to conduct election campaigns inside the government offices. The PAFREL organisation expresses hope that all the government institutions will support the upcoming local government election. Immigration and Immigration Department temporarily halts issuing of passports. A postal voting will be conducted as scheduled. The Treasury Secretary has issued a circular to all relevant state officials regarding the government's paddy purchasing program. In foreign news, the business group says earthquake could cost Turkey up to $84 billion. And in sports news, ex-England captain E. Morgan retires from cricket aged 36. The Elections Commission says that it is prohibited to conduct election campaigns and canvassing inside the government offices. The distribution of pamphlets is also prohibited. Candidates will not be allowed to do any kind of election campaign activity in any government office. The Elections Commission informs all trade unions to follow that same measure. It is the responsibility of the head of the institute to not allow such kind of activities within the institution premises. The PAFREL organisation expresses hope that all the government institutions, including the Finance Ministry, will support the upcoming local government election. Around 8 incidents of violence have been reported so far. The executive director of the PAFREL organisation, Rohana Hettiarachchi, says that many of the candidates have not yet commenced the election propaganda activities. The Department of Immigration and Immigration says that the issuing of passports at its offices have been temporarily halted due to a defect in the computer system of the Immigration and Immigration Department's offices island-wide. The department therefore requests those who are with appointments for passports scheduled for tomorrow to call over on the 15th of February. And for all applicants to call over on the next day of their appointment until Friday. Meanwhile, the Controller General of Immigration and Immigration stated that the normal services of the department will resume on Monday. The issuance of passports through the Immigration and Immigration Department offices island-wide was halted following a defect in the computer system of the department earlier today. The defect has taken place as a result of a technical error in the operating systems of the relevant department. The department also informs those who are unable to come to the department to collect their passports tomorrow. They will take measures to deliver the relevant passports to their homes promptly through a courier service. This news comes to you from the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation.
People's Bank Isuru Udana gift certificates, a valuable gift for any child.
We continue with local news. Commissioner General of Elections Saman Sri Ratnayaka says that voters should carry a valid identity card to the local government poll to be held on the 9th of next month. The national identity card, a valid passport, the driving license or any other valid form of identity can be submitted at the polling booth. The temporary driving license and the special identity issued by the Election Commission Council can also be used. No other form of identity will be accepted for voting purposes. Applications for the special ID issued by the Commission will end on the 2nd of next month. Meanwhile, the postal voting will be conducted on the 22nd, 23rd and the 24th of this month as scheduled. The Treasury Secretary Mahinda Sirivardhana has issued a circular to all relevant state officials regarding the government's paddy purchasing program for the 2022-23 Maha season. Accordingly, the Treasury Secretary informs all relevant ministry secretaries and district secretaries that the government will purchase Nadu paddy with a moisture level of 14% for 100 rupees per kilogram from farmers in the Maha season. Meanwhile, the circular also states that for Nadu paddy between 14% and 22% moisture level, 88 rupees per kilo will be paid by the government. That ends the local segment of news.
Your sister got him the most valuable gift of all.
My family will do anything for our child's future.
People's Bank Isuru Udana gift certificates, a valuable gift for any child.
The main news story is brought to you by Siddhalepa Vedamahatmya.
The government has decided to implement a common national fertilizer policy in the country when using chemical and organic fertilizers in agriculture. The Minister of Agriculture mentioned that a special discussion was held at the ministry regarding the matter today under the patronage of Minister of Agriculture Mahinda Amaravira. The Presidential Committee on Food Security has submitted 35 proposals in order to implement the Common National Fertilizer Policy. The Minister stated that the proposal will be implemented as short-term, medium-term and long-term, and that Cabinet approval is required to be obtained.
The main news story was brought to you by Siddhalepa Vedamahatmya.
Now we take a look at Watchlight. The government of Sri Lanka, with the support of the Ceylon tea exporters, and has donated a consignment of Ceylon tea last Friday to the ambassador of Turkey in Colombo to be delivered to the victims of the devastating earthquake in Turkey. The consignment was handed over to the ambassador of Turkey by Director General for Emergency Response of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs at the Turkey Embassy in Colombo. That came to you in Watchlight. And now we take a look at foreign news, the headlines. A business group says earthquake could cost Turkey up to $84 billion. China says US balloon breached airspace at least 10 times. Thousands left without power in New Zealand due to Cyclone Gabrielle. A business group said Turkey's worst earthquake in almost a century has left a trail of destruction that could cost Ankara up to $84.1 billion, while a government official put the figure at more than $50 billion. The combined death toll in Turkey and Syria from last month's 7.8 magnitude quake approached 36,000 and looked to rise as the focus of the response switched from rescuing survivors trapped under the rubble to providing shelter, food and psychosocial care. A report published the weekend by the Turkish Enterprise and Business Confederation put the cost of the damage at $84.1 billion to $70.8 billion from the repair of thousands of homes, $10.4 billion from loss of national income, and $2.9 billion from loss of working days. It said the main costs would be rebuilding, housing, transmission lines and infrastructure, and meeting the short, medium and long-term shelter needs of the hundreds of thousands left homeless. China's foreign ministry says that the US has flown balloons into its airspace more than 10 times in the past year. It comes after the US, on the 4th of this month, shot down a suspected spy balloon over its airspace, which China said was one of their weather balloons gone astray. Relations between the two countries have since deteriorated. In recent days, the US has also shot down a number of other unidentified objects. Questioned on Monday, Beijing said the US had made many airspace breaches. Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesman Wang Wenbing, at a regular press briefing, said Beijing has responded to the incursions in a responsible and professional manner. Residents across the north of New Zealand are bracing for a rough night as Cyclone Gabrielle lashes the country with torrential rains and winds. At least 46,000 homes have lost power in the storm, while hundreds of flights have been cancelled. A state of emergency has been declared in 9 regions, affecting nearly a third of the 5.1 million population. The storm was expected to peak on Monday night, with the deluge to continue until Tuesday. In New Zealand's largest city, Auckland, authorities earlier evacuated people from 50 homes around a 30-meter high tower that was in danger of collapse, local media reported. Dozens of evacuation centers have also been set up in the city. Emergency services have also reported people trapped by the rising waters, including a family stranded on a flooded highway. Authorities say they have received more than 100 calls for help since Sunday. Cyclone Gabrielle is hitting New Zealand's north just weeks after Auckland and surrounding areas endured record rainfall and flooding, which killed 4 people. That ends this bulletin of world news, and before that we take a look at the headlines again. A business group says earthquake could cost Turkey up to $84 billion. China says US balloon breached airspace at least 10 times. Thousands left without power in New Zealand due to Cyclone Gabrielle. That ends this bulletin of world news.
Development news.
High Commissioner of New Zealand to Sri Lanka and the Maldives, Michael Appleton, says that the New Zealand government will continue to provide technical support to Sri Lanka for its development. This was stated during a discussion held yesterday between the New Zealand High Commissioner and the State Minister of Finance, Shehan Semasinghe. The discussion focused on the country's economy, progress of the International Monetary Fund's reforms towards stability, and the current political situation. The measures taken to obtain the support of the IMF were discussed extensively. Attention was also paid to the reforms carried out with the aim of restoring Sri Lanka's economy. The economic and political situation of the country was also discussed. And now we take a look at sports news. Cricket. Former England captain E. Morgan has announced his retirement from all forms of cricket. The 36-year-old, who was born in Dublin, stepped down from the international game in June. Under Morgan's guidance, England won the World Cup in 2019 and reached the top of the one-day and 2020 rankings. Morgan said on Monday that he was retiring from the sport after much deliberation. That was sports news, and business news is next.
Go ekak thiyana youth eකට life එකේ change එකට නියමෙට set වෙන්න ඇස් වහගෙන දැකපු වීන හැබැ කරන්න youth එකට නියමෙට set වෙන්න friendship එක මෙන්න.
The all-new NSB Ithru Mithru account, NSB IM, a plan for your dream.
Business News, sponsored by National Savings Bank, the safest place for your money.
The International Finance Corporation has reaffirmed Commercial Bank of Ceylon's status as a South Asian financial institution to record the highest number of climate finance transactions in fiscal year 2022, awarding Sri Lanka's benchmark private sector bank the prestigious Climate Assessment for Financial Institutions Award in respect of the year. The CAFI Award for Climate Reporting was conferred on Commercial Bank for successfully completing 314 climate finance transactions that met IFC's climate eligibility criteria. The CAFI tool was used to assess climate eligibility and measure the climate impact of investments. That was business news.
Business News, sponsored by National Savings Bank, the safest place for your money.
Go ekak thiyana youth eකට life එකේ change එකට නියමෙට set වෙන්න ඇස් වහගෙන දැකපු වීන හැබැ කරන්න youth එකට නියමෙට set වෙන්න friendship එක මෙන්න.
The all-new NSB Ithru Mithru account, NSB IM, a plan for your dream.
State Minister of Finance Ranjit Siyabalapitiya said the pay-as-you-earn tax is only being imposed on 2.6% of the workforce. Speaking in Parliament on Friday, State Minister Siyabalapitiya said that the workforce of Sri Lanka is 4,645,572, out of which 2,231,620 receive a monthly salary of less than 30,000 rupees. He further said that therefore only 2.6% of the workforce fall under the pay tax category, stating that the expected state income for the year 2023 is 3.615 billion rupees and the expenditure is 5.419 billion rupees. The State Minister said 350% difference is reported between the income and the expense for January 2023. And finally, we take a look at the weather report.
Weather report.
The Met Department says that showers or thundershowers may occur at a few places in the Ratnapura, Kalutara, Gaul and Mathura districts during the afternoon or at night. Mainly fair weather will prevail elsewhere over the island. To end tonight's news broadcast, we take a look at the headlines again. The Elections Commission says that it is prohibited to conduct election campaigns inside the government offices. The PAFREL organization expresses hope that all the government institutions will support the upcoming local government election. Immigration and Immigration Department temporarily halts issuing of passports. The postal voting will be conducted as scheduled. The Treasury Secretary has issued a circular to all relevant state officials regarding the government's paddy purchasing program. In foreign news, a business group says earthquake could cost Turkey up to $84 billion. And in sports news, ex-England captain E. Morgan retires from cricket aged 36. That ends tonight's news broadcast.